We got a white supremacist race soldier who was caught, making a social media post, wearing a ski mask, one of them full hooded ski masks that cover your whole face. And he talking about to catch a YN, you got to become a YN. And that's a bunch of nonsense because, he's trying to suggest, he got a racist white supremacist mind from the get go because he's making suggesting that, all black people are thugs, criminals, and gonna rob people, sell drugs, this, that, and the other. And that's a bunch of nonsense, you know what I mean? And yeah, he's been fired. He's since been fired, but they should, fire him, and, he shouldn't have the ability to be a police officer ever again, because a lot of times they'll fire these guys and they'll go to another state and just become a police officer in another state when they should be fired, from ever being in law enforcement again. They should, make the penalty, tougher on these race soldiers. And this guy should be investigated, for possibly putting bogus crimes on black people or, doing some nonsense, regarding, treating black people unjustly, maybe harming black people, planting drugs, this, that, and the other. Because if he got this kind of mindset to say, to catch a YN, you got to become a YN, that lets you know that this guy got a white supremacist mindset and ain't nothing that he won't do, regarding black society. But let's get into it, family. Fair use. Well, family, this is why I like that new challenge they got going on. Some black folks don't like it. That 3/4 zips challenge where they wearing, like the sweatshirts with a little zipper on it, the young brothers, cleaning up their appearance, because some black folks that don't like it because they say that suggests, that we're being targeted just off the way we look, when we know that we're being targeted based off of race. While we know we are being targeted based off of race, because regardless of what you wear, the white supremacist race soldiers, they gonna still, try to do nonsense to black folks because, it's race based, but I'm saying, why I like it is the 3/4 zips challenge that the young brothers is doing, because let's face it, let's be real, you know what I mean? You will be judged, unfortunately, based off of how you look, and people will judge a book by its cover, so when you dressed, superbly, this is why the Nation of Islam dresses superbly too, wearing them bow ties and conducting themselves in a certain type of way, because you demand respect. Even people that don't want to respect, sometimes they're forced to, respect you just based on the way you look. And, this is another aspect too. The way you dress, it will, doors will be able to open to you. You go into a place with your pants hanging down, people ain't going to respect you as a man, you know what I mean? And doors is going to shut. It ain't right, but doors is going to, because you could be a hell of a worker, and you going in there for a job and the door is going to shut in your face, but you go in there, with a suit on, a sweater on, some nice slacks, some nice dress shoes, you're going to command respect and get the job based off of that. You might not know anything, but people, unfortunately, in this world, they judge a book by its cover. And, when I was growing up, it reminds me of growing up with my mom, and my two sisters. My mom always, made sure that we was fly as kids, and that's just embedded in FBA society. When you go to school on the first day, you fly on the first day, dressed impeccably, but my mom made sure we stayed, fly all year round, but my mom took, a little bit of a greater emphasis on me because she knew I was a black man and the hurdles and things I would have to jump through. So she made sure I was dressed a little bit more impeccably, you know what I mean? So while it ain't right, you will be judged based off of, how you're dressing. Even though we're in a system of racism, white supremacy, two things can exist at the same time. So we're going to walk through and talk about this, family. Fair use. Let me rewind it. Fair use.
A Spartanburg County deputy is off the job tonight after the sheriff says he made a racially insensitive post on social media.
Sheriff Bill Ryan says the deputy was on the job for 5 years before today's firing.
And this happened down there in South Carolina too, family. I don't know if I mentioned that.
Reports from Spartanburg County.
Spartanburg County Sheriff Bill Ryan says a uniformed patrol deputy from the Reedville area has been fired after he posted a racial slur on social media. He says this decision was not taken lightly, but had to be made instantly.
That kind of stuff will absolutely not be tolerated under any circumstances at this agency under my leadership.
And they won't mention the racial slur in this particular video, but the racial slur he said was to catch a YN, you got to become a YN. And that's a white supremacist mindset and ideology because, you know, that's a stereotype, you know, a false narrative that the white supremacists put out there that all young black men are thugs, criminals out here robbing, slanging drugs, this, that, and the other. You know, they use that as a way to demonize all black society. You know what I mean? When every society got people that, you know, aren't doing good, you know, amongst the people, you know, so they use that to try to go into black society and paint us all with the same paintbrush. And damn that narrative, this guy needs to be, you know, maybe investigated to see if he, you know, put bogus charges or did unjust things to black folks.
Leadership.
You're looking at the social media post that Spartanburg County Sheriff says led to a deputy losing his job. We have blurred out the portion where a racial slur was written.
A lot of people think,
And along with him losing that job, he shouldn't be able to practice law enforcement in any other state, I think.
that or on social media that it gives them a platform to be able to say anything that they want to say. Unfortunately, that is not true.
The sheriff says he first saw the post Friday morning, but could not say on what social media platform it was published.
Immediately, I go back to looking at it and trying to figure out, is he trying to insinuate that he is of a different color or ethnicity? But when you look at it as a whole, it's every aspect of it. I was really...
Yeah, he was trying to put out the messaging that all young black men are thugs, robbers, criminals, and drug dealers. And that's a bunch of nonsense. That's a white supremacist false narrative of a stereotype that they try to paint on all young black men. And that's nonsense.
kind of taken back by it when I saw it.
The sheriff says the post was published Thursday night and the deputy was fired hours later for violating the agency's social media policy and rules of conduct. Ryan says he is not naming the deputy at this time.
The reason for that is I want to be respectful to them, to give them time. This is very fresh. This has just happened.
And it shows you how the system of racism, white supremacy works, because why not just put his damn name out there? He said he wanted to be respectful to a racist white supremacist that was trying to label, you know, black people as criminals. Why show him that amount of respect? Why not put his name out there? You know, they should put his name out there, if you ask me, expose him.
I want to make sure that I'm respectful enough to them to give them time to notify family and other people prior to that.
The sheriff touting transparency and accountability.
We're going to be transparent with everything that we are doing here. That's something that has not been provided over the last few years. Unfortunately, I have a tremendous amount of responsibility on my shoulders to reestablish that trust within the people of this county, and I'm committed to doing that.
The sheriff says that the Criminal Justice Academy will likely pull this deputy's law enforcement certification, but he says there is an appeals process that...
Okay, so they saying that they might pull his law enforcement, status to where, though, he probably won't be able to practice law enforcement again, you know, and move to any other agency. And that's good, because these people with this kind of mindset could hurt, harm, and injure black folks, you know, plant drugs on them, you know, and make it look like set them up on bogus, trumped up charges, just a whole bunch of nonsense.
That deputy can go through. Reporting in Spartanburg County, Ray Arena, WYFF News 4.
Yeah, but he deserved to be fired. You know, he ain't got no business being, you know, no damn police officer, because he, you know, he ain't trying to protect and serve not a damn thing. The only thing he's serving and protecting is the system of racism, white supremacy, family. We're moving right along.